Welcome to a brand new episode of This Week in Apps. I'm Ariel from App Figures, and here are 5 things you need to know from the world of mobile apps and games. No intro this week, I know. I crunched the numbers this week to rank the highest earning games in the US in February. I ranked apps last week, and there's a link to that in the description in case you missed it. Roblox was the highest earning game in the US in February, earning $72 million of net revenue according to our estimates. Candy Crush was a distant second in February, earning about a half of that with an estimated $48 million of net revenue. Roblox was also the highest earning game in the App Store in February, and you can clearly see the difference between revenue from the App Store and revenue from Google Play, where Roblox actually ranks 4th. I have an even better comparison coming up, so don't go anywhere. Garena Free Fire, still banned in India, came in at about half of Candy Crush, Pokemon Go, and Bingo Blitz stopped the halving and round off the top 5 highest earners in the US, all having similar net revenue. Together, the highest earners brought in $280 million of net revenue in February, according to our estimates. Like the highest earning apps and even the most downloaded apps and games, which I covered over the last few weeks, this total is a bit lower than January's because February is 1, a shorter month, and 2, also a weaker month in general. If you missed those episodes, the links are in the description below. Now, how much money is there on the App Store versus Google Play? That's a question I hear often, and this week I found a very interesting case in the wild that can show you the difference. So let's talk about that. Motion Leap, an app that animates photos, made its way into the top 5 in the App Store last week. We've seen a bunch of apps from this category, the photo and video category, rise to the top organically in the last few months, but a quick look at the downloads showed this was less viral and more paid user acquisition, in my opinion at least. I say that after looking at the rate of growth, how downloads were nearly parallel across both the App Store and Google Play, and the country distribution. When apps grow organically, these rarely look this perfect. Knowing the app is getting a similar number of downloads across both stores and at roughly the same speed means we can look at how revenue is growing across the stores to see which store is stronger, right? Easy. After all, the app offers the same functionality across both platforms, and it's not exactly niche. To answer the question, the App Store is much bigger when it comes to revenue. In terms of downloads, at the peak, our estimates show the App Store bringing in around 180,000 new downloads a day, and Google Play around 200,000, so not too far off, almost the same. When it comes to revenue, however, our estimates show that the App Store peaked at $40,000 of daily new net revenue, while Google Play barely rose to $7,000, less than a quarter. So far in March, Google Play was responsible for about 19% of the total net revenue, which we estimate was a few dollars shy of $500,000. This is, of course, just one app, but it's such an easy view into the difference in revenue that I just had to put it out there. I don't want you to take this as your reasoning for why you shouldn't build for Google Play, and we have to keep in mind, this isn't revenue from Android, the platform, but rather specifically from Google Play, the store. So just keep these figures in mind as you make your decisions. And by the way, if you like this video so far, please take a second to hit the thumbs up button and make me happy. And if you don't, drop me a comment and let me know why. Back to insights. I've helped a few journalists this week with content for their stories, which meant keeping my mind on the news. I mostly concentrated on the top apps, but I noticed a trend in Russia that was interesting. While Russia's preferred messaging app is Telegram, a trend that's been very strong for a long time. Smaller rival and Elon Musk's favorite, Signal, was barely getting any downloads. That changed abruptly when the invasion of Ukraine started. Comparing the downloads of Signal, WhatsApp, and Telegram, you can easily see the scale each has, and pre-war Signal had very little. But that changed. Downloads rose more than 780% from an average of just under 2,000 downloads per day to more than 15,000 new downloads a day, according to our estimates. Telegram's downloads rose as well, not as sharply, but they started at a much higher spot, so that's not a surprise, and I'm talking about Signal here. Where are all those downloads coming from, and why Signal? The need to stay connected right now is an obvious answer, but it's not the only one. WhatsApp, which was popular in Russia, is now blocked after Meta, which really means Facebook, decided to change its rules, and that really angered Russia. Those lost downloads have found a new home in Signal in Telegram, and that's where those downloads are coming from, and that's not something that can be easily undone later. I've been looking at apps in Russia a lot lately, but this week I want to bring your attention back to Ukraine, where a new-ish app has taken control of the App Store and Google Play. That app is no other than Elon Musk's Starlink. Downloads of Starlink, which was activated in Ukraine at the end of February, after an exchange on Twitter between Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister and Elon Musk, have been on the rise. And in case you're not familiar, Starlink is an internet provider that normally connects places with little infrastructure using a satellite network owned by SpaceX. It rose slowly since it was enabled in Ukraine on February 26, but on Monday, which happened to be AppFigures' birthday, it reached the top of the App Store in Ukraine to become the most downloaded app. It reached the number 2 spot on Google Play at the same time where it still is right now. War makes estimating downloads a bit more challenging for obvious reasons, but even so, we estimate that Starlink saw more than 100,000 new downloads in Ukraine since it became available. Not every download is a device activation. Still, it's a whole lot of people regaining access to the internet. We're seeing something similar on the other side, where millions of Russians who are blocked from accessing some parts of the internet are downloading VPN apps to get access to information. And it makes sense, it's hard without the internet. With Google Play somewhat crippled in Russia at the moment because they no longer have the ability to bill, I can't even imagine how much work Apple is doing to keep things going normally. Shifting gears completely, how's your bracket looking? March Madness tipped off this week, pushing a trio of apps to the top of the App Store. As of right now, ESPN Tournament Challenge, NCAA, and CBS Sports are the most downloaded apps in the US App Store. Not exactly the same on Google Play, but they're somewhere in the top 100, so let's just say they're getting attention. Downloads of the three jumped sharply on Monday, with daily downloads growing more than 2,300% to 271,000 on Tuesday. Our estimates show that between Monday and Tuesday, ESPN Tournament Challenge, which isn't even ESPN's main app, saw more than 280,000 new downloads. CBS Sports brought in 135,000 new downloads, and the official NCAA app saw 77,000 new downloads. That's almost 500,000 new downloads, in case you're counting. Looking back at last year's Madness, it's ESPN that's winning this run with roughly twice as many downloads as it added in the opening week of 2021. CBS is netting a similar number as last year, but the official app is way behind at a little under a half. There's still time though. And that's all I have for you this week. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And if you like this video, consider subscribing. I publish a new one every week. See you next week. And if you want to see the highest earning apps in February, be sure to check out last week's episode here.